Hello. Mrs. Doubtfire.
Hey, hello.
Hello.
Next time we will bring some
Hello.
whipped cream. Wait, no, that's like
Yeah.
cool whip.
Cool whip.
Cool whip.
Well, that's how, what's his name? Brian says it from
From
Family
Family
Guy.
Guy. Cool whip.
Cool.
Exactly.
Okay, anyway. Hey, welcome back. No, I gotta actually give a pause there, and I don't know why
Anyway,
I always do this.
I was like, wait, where are we going with this?
I don't know.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
I always.
Shake it off. Shake it. I'm not even a Taylor Swift fan, so I don't know why that came to me.
I'm not either, but I've heard a few of her things lately, and I'm like, that's really good.
No, it's pretty good.
I
But
don't want to like it.
I cannot be a Swiftie.
Nope.
All right, that was a side note.
Oh, yeah. Let's see how much, maybe I don't edit any of this.
I hope not. It's just one.
Get all the breaks, all of Kenan like climbing in, the side stories.
I hope so.
Okay.
Oh, it's so funny.
Oh, why are we here? Okay. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Lemon Cake. We are excited to have you. It's been a minute, a hot minute, as we've been talking about.
Hot minute, yes.
Yep, and so much has happened since the last time we were with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got some topics we've talked about that we've kind of gone back and forth about, not sure if we wanted to get into. Well, I wasn't sure, but Amber has convinced me, and I
Talked
think
her
this
into
is,
it.
You did talk me into it, and I'm really excited because it's a little bit more of a controversial subject.
A little saucy, we
A little
said.
saucy.
Yeah.
A little spicy.
Spicier topic.
Yep. But it's necessary.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about doctor shopping.
Doctor shopping. And I like calling it that
Yeah.
because I think first and foremost, you are not stuck with or assigned a doctor.
Right.
You get to choose.
Right. You literally get to log into your Amazon account
Yes.
and
Select.
find your doctor in their little outfit. Add to cart.
Read through the
Oh, read
all the
details.
statistics and details.
Read the reviews.
Right? Definitely read the reviews.
Read the reviews.
Add to cart.
Yeah. But that actually we should come back to because you can read and you
can.
should read
Right.
your doctor reviews.
100%. Yeah, you're right. So
This was
kind of joking, but
yeah,
true.
Yeah. So do you want to kick it off on this
Yeah.
one because this was your idea? You
Yeah.
had a little bit more personal experience, although I can definitely speak to this.
Right.
So
I think that what really made me want to talk about this was it just kept coming back up in conversations that I was having with a bunch of other moms. So whether you are in the very beginning stages of your journey of whether yourself or a child is being diagnosed with something, or even if they're not an infant but they are experiencing something later on in life, or something as simple as, and this isn't simple, but I guess in the grand scheme of things, your kid falls and breaks their leg.
right.
But I mean, I guess, and to me that sounds simple because my son's had bilateral reconstructive hip surgery.
You've been through it a time
Yeah,
or two.
but I'm like, that's not a simple thing. That's a scary thing.
Yeah.
But it's, it's not necessarily going to be an ongoing relationship with this doctor.
Right.
But a lot of the times you will have these long-term ongoing relationships with these doctors. So I started talking with all these moms.
Mm-hmm.
I had gone on that mom's retreat back in September with a bunch of other moms of kids with different diagnoses, challenges, physical challenges.
Can you actually? What was that all about?
Yeah, so it was called
We haven't talked about that here.
No, I don't think that we have. It's called Electric Love. A mom out in California decided to start this first one where she got a bunch of moms together who they went out to Utah. They got to hike through the Narrows and all this really, really cool stuff. So we decided to do a Midwest version of that. And so we all got together up off of Lake Michigan, and it was so much fun. There was 32 of us moms together. A lot of the kids there were diagnosed with epilepsy or some sort of neurological disorder. And so we all got to spend the weekend together just kind of sharing stories, some camaraderie of just the challenges and some trauma that we've experienced. And it was just really, really healing, a good healing experience. But, we got to talking about doctors and all the times we're in the hospital and all the specialists that we see. And I think what really got me on it and was like, we need to talk about this was the very beginning for us with Kai, he was born with hydrocephalus. We knew he had it in utero. So what did we do? He was born, he was transported immediately to Nationwide Children's Hospital. And at the Children's Hospital, we were assigned a neurosurgeon. Mm-hmm. I was not even physically at the hospital. I was still at the hospital I delivered and was recovering from a C-section myself. So my husband's at the hospital with him and has to sign over all the paperwork for him to go into this surgery. And we were assigned a neurosurgeon and a pediatric neurosurgeon. And Kai underwent brain surgery. And I didn't dislike him from the beginning, but the beginning we were being told a lot of different information. There was a lot of unknowns with Kai's diagnoses and a plethora of different diagnoses. And so when we had met with him outpatient, I think it was literally like 2 months after his brain surgery, this doctor had said to us, like, well, he may never walk, he may never talk, he may never eat on his own. He went through all the lists of the things that he probably would not do. And I hate to break it to him, but he was kind of right. There is a lot of things that he said that Kai is not doing. But it was not the time, it was not the place, and it was not the delivery that we felt we should have had with a 2-month-old infant who had just had brain surgery, and we had no idea what the future would look like for him.
Right.
So we did continue seeing that doctor for a while because I did not know I could change.
Right.
I did not know that I could literally go into his My Chart and request an appointment with another neurosurgeon, or get on Nationwide Children's website and look through the neurosurgeons that are there, read about them, learn about them, and say, I think this one best fits our needs. I want to meet them, and schedule an appointment to just meet them.
Right.
And then as I've gone on, I'm like, wow, that's exactly what you can do. And not only is it what you can do, it's what you should do, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've experienced something similar before, Chelsea, or what that looks like for you guys when your experiences with the hospital and any other appointments that Kenan has had.
Well, even before Kenan was diagnosed and we were, just taking her to her well checks when she was born.
Right.
Before anything major had happened yet, she was having a lot of issues. And I was going to this particular pediatrician and I was sending them videos and pictures of things that were happening.
Right.
And they were like, oh, that's kind of normal. Like, just keep it. I'm like, this is not normal. And this went on for 3 months. I felt like trapped, like I couldn't get help, like no one was listening to me.
Right.
And eventually, I guess I didn't know either. I didn't know I could go somewhere else. And I also didn't know where to go.
Right.
And sometimes when you find yourself in that frustrating place too, you feel very trapped and you just don't know. You don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And it can feel overwhelming to even ask questions or ask for help or even survey friends and be like, where do you go? It can, like, sometimes your brain just freezes, like mine did. And I was like, I didn't even know I could ask other people. And through a series of events, kind of like the last straw happened and I was like, we're out. I am not doing this anymore. This is not, it's getting worse here. And so we exited and went to a different office. And I'm so glad I did because our whole family is there now and it's been a really good fit. And I'm very, very happy with it. We've been able to overcome a lot of the challenges, get a lot of the right help that we needed.
Right.
But as far as working with, Kenan's actual diagnosis, we've had a couple of different doctor changes. And one of the things we were talking about is having the courage to even ask questions because they don't, you don't work for them. They technically work for you.
Right.
You need to be interviewing and then hiring the people that you want to be helping your child.
I think that's like a really good framework way to think about it. And I'm going to backtrack just again real quick because something you said, how did you feel when you were leaving, or I guess even when you were being told multiple times everything was fine, knowing in your gut it was not? it's hard, I feel like, to be told something by the doctor, right? The person who's supposed to know.
Yeah.
And taking that leap of leaving when you've been told everything is fine. Like, so you're hearing one thing from the doctor and
Yeah.
you're doing opposite of what they say, right?
Right.
How, I guess, did you have the courage, or what made you think, like, okay, I need to, like, almost not necessarily go against the doctor's word, but I'm not going to take their word for it.
Right, right.
You know what I mean?
Well, I think it comes down to, and again, this was very hard for me to kind of wrap my head around and make the decision to do back then. I've changed a lot in the last 6 years, gotten a lot more courage, and stepped out of my comfort zone tremendously. Right. I'm a very different person than I was 6 years ago. 6 years ago, I was really scared. I was, I would allow people to just kind of like push me around and bully me into situations.
Right.
Not that anybody intended to do that, but I would just like let it happen.
Yeah.
You know, because I just didn't want to ruffle feathers.
Right.
I didn't want to cause any issues.
Right.
And I think when it came down to doctors, it was always like, well, I have an art degree. And
what do I know about
doctors?
this?
They're doctors. Like, they know the world. But it's not true.
No.
There are very good doctors out there, and I'm not trying to discredit that.
No, not at all.
And just so everybody knows, I am that person that's like, I want to always find that balance of medical, of properly using the medical system when it is needed.
Right.
And then home remedies, homeopathics, natural solutions, always going that route first, but then being very acutely aware of when those things are, they've run their course, that is not their place, and you need a different type of treatment, because we've been there. So I think that a lot of the decision making and the emotions that I felt were just very confusing. And ultimately, when we decided to make that switch just within pediatrics, basic pediatrics, I felt guilty. I felt scared.
Yeah.
I was like, they know everything and I know nothing.
Absolutely.
And especially in this situation, the doctor at this office was a very dominant personality. And that she made me feel horrible all the time. Like I was always wrong. I didn't know what I was talking about, but my gut was telling me otherwise.
Right.
So thankfully, I did eventually go with my
and
gut.
follow your gut. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was the best thing we ever did, because that is then what got Kenan fully diagnosed.
Right. Right.
I think it would have, honestly, I don't know where she would be or if she would be had we stayed there, because they were looking at all the wrong things and making me feel like a bad parent.
Right. Exactly.
And they are not bad people, but this was not the right situation.
Exactly. And I think, like, kind of going back to what you were saying, like, you are the one shopping. You are interviewing the doctors. So you need to get that mindset of, I am searching for the best fit for my child, and are you that fit for me?
Right.
Not like, oh, I mean, this is so great, this doctor's going to do everything, or whoever I was given, and that's what we're going to do, everything they said, and everything that they say is the be-all, say-all. That's not the case at all. And I think it goes down as simply as when, like, even being inpatient, I was telling Chelsea earlier, like, even if it's like a nurse that you're just not meshing, that's okay. Like, it's not like, oh, like, I'm firing you, like, get out and you have to be rude about it. But we've had a couple of different situations where Kai was inpatient and that nurse could have been having a really bad day, or she could have just been a really not nice person. And I just said to the charge nurse, like, I'm sorry, but I just don't think that this is, like, the best fit for us right now. I'm in a high stress situation and this isn't helping.
Right.
And they just assigned us a different nurse for our room. And I think that that's okay. Now, like I said, don't have to be rude about it. It may be a little uncomfortable.
Right.
You might see them in the hallway when you go to get ice, like I did. And it was like, oh, hey, yep, I'm that mom that just said I didn't want you in my room.
Yeah.
But I also have not seen
Did
her
you, like,
since.
fist bump her? And
Yeah, I was like, hey, girl. Out of here.
Yeah.
But
Next. You remember that show? Next.
Next.
You're
but
fired.
You're fired.
No, but that's also good. And I think that one thing that I have learned from all of this is having a checklist of what my expectations are.
Right.
And I've actually learned this because I've had a home birth with both kids, and going into those, I had to make a list of, like, what was my ideal birth.
Right.
And so that if I did end up in the hospital or anything happened, like, there was a birth plan.
Right.
So I've taken that same concept and applied it to what is my medical plan
Right.
for Kinnan? What kind of doctors do I want around her? What are their values? How are our relationships?
Yep.
Because I think sometimes too, like, it's one thing to have a doctor that's very knowledgeable, but if there's no like personal connection,
Yeah.
and it's funny we're talking about this because everything that we're saying, I'm like, I might be going on my chart later.
Yes, you're like, let me check. This is a check for ourselves as well.
Yes, because we are in a situation currently where we've gone through a few different genetics doctors. They've all been very good, very knowledgeable, to be quite honest. I don't have issues with any of them.
Right.
But none of them have really felt like a good fit
Right.
for us. And so there were several in the past that like, I'm like, we've been with you for 2 or 3 years and you still don't know my daughter's name.
Yeah.
Also, it bothers me that they only call me mom. I'm like, I have a name.
Name, yeah.
I have a name. I'm not mom.
That is the thing that they all do. And I feel like
Why?
I've noticed that in other hospitals too.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just their...
It's their go-to, I guess, so that they don't have to really think about it. I
Is
guess.
this like, okay, so if you're a doctor or
Hey,
a
Mom.
nurse, I want you to weigh in and tell us.
Yes.
Is
Yeah.
this part of your schooling?
Yeah, your training.
Like, is this a psychological
Refer to
thing
them as mom.
to just only refer to parent, guardian, mom, dad?
Right.
Is it only, like, do you just do that? And why?
I'd be curious.
Because it actually makes us angry.
Yeah, don't call me mom.
Yeah.
Although
I mean,
I
maybe
am
some
a mom.
people don't care, but like,
Right.
I mean, the reason why is like your name is one of the most valuable things you own.
Right.
And there's
right.
a whole other psychology to that. But like, if a doctor were to refer to, like, if she were to walk into the room and say, "Hi, Kenan. Hi, Chelsea," instead of never saying my kid's name and then
saying, "Hi,
referring to
Mom."
me as mom,
Right. You're like,
it would
excuse
be a
me.
very different experience.
Right.
I would probably share more.
No, Kai's ortho
But
doc.
I hold back more when there's not that personal connection.
Yeah, you're absolutely. And then you're not getting your kids' needs fully met.
Yeah.
Or you're not.
Because I just want to leave.
Yeah, you're like, I'm done with this. Checked out.
Yeah.
Kai's ortho surgeon was like, my husband actually is the one that made the like initial appointment with him. He's phenomenal. He literally will walk in the room and be like, "There's my Kai guy. How's he doing?" And I'm
that.
just like,
Yeah.
"Oh, he is your Kai guy." Like, you know what I mean?
But that's what you're looking for. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's also why we did not stick with our first initial neurosurgeon, because that was not there. And it was all very transactional. It was very black and white, and I just didn't feel comfortable. And I just didn't also feel like, yes, they may be knowledgeable, but like, how much are they willing to like think outside the box or try a new type of treatment that may not be like the general status quo of what they generally do, but that may not be what your kid needs.
Right.
So I feel like a lot of the moms that I was talking to about this, and the reason why I even wanted to bring this up, are just experiencing very similar things, but I feel like it's important to know that you can do this at the beginning. It's not like you have to wait until you're like a veteran mom. Like, I mean,
Right.
Chelsea said she's a very different mom than she was 6 years ago, or person in general.
Yeah.
As far as like speaking up and advocating for Kenan and just saying what she needs to meet their needs. And in the beginning, you are so scared, and there is so much unknown that you're just kind of in this place of like, I'm just absorbing everything these people are telling me, and you're taking it as the word, and that's not the case. But if you educate yourself from the very beginning, you can start to already build that confidence in it, and not have to wait until 5-6 years down the road to be like, oh, I've done this now. Like, I have no problem going through it.
Yeah.
You know what I
I
mean?
mean, life in general, we're so many people can be like that. Like, oh, I just want to get a little bit more experience. And
Right.
then, and there's never, ducks never get in a row. There's always that one in the back that's like just never going to join you. Yeah. So
There's the
your
Cameron
ducks-
and West. No.
Yeah. Yes. Your ducks will never be in a row.
Right.
There's never going to be a perfect day.
Nope.
Like,
No.
you just have to start. And so
Right.
if this is resonating with anybody and you're like, yeah, this isn't really the right fit, this is your sign to go shop. Go just interview people, have
just like
conversations,
make the appointment.
that checklist.
Yeah. And I think that it's okay also to think, okay, I can go outside of like my bubble, like my city. Like here nationwide, or in Columbus, Ohio, like Nationwide Children's Hospital is like the main step. And we are very grateful. I think we've said it before on here to have that hospital in our backyard. But we also have Cincinnati Children's Hospital. We've got the Cleveland Clinic. Those are both 2 hours from us. In your area, I can guarantee that there are other, and some of them are not even with a hospital system.
Right.
You've got these other private practices that are other doctors that have same or similar experiences that might be something that fits your needs better. So I think it's important to also just get second, third, maybe even fourth opinions. And then from there, you're like, all right, I think this is what best fits our needs.
I don't know if you've done this at all, but when Kenan was diagnosed with GSD1A, the first thing, well, maybe not the first thing, but one of the first things that we did was find out, okay, how is Children's in Columbus the best place for her, or are there other places that are better?
Right.
And I learned right away that Cleveland, Cincinnati's okay, but at the time it was like Cleveland, Mayo's okay with it, but surprisingly UConn is top, and some of their top researchers and doctors in the field are actually at UConn.
Yeah.
And then they were partnering with people in Florida at the University of Florida and their medical center there. I forget the name of the actual hospital. Yeah. But it was like Connecticut and Florida and then Columbus and Cleveland. And I was like, well, thank goodness. Like this actually, we chose to stay with Columbus for now.
Yeah.
But I have always had those others on my radar.
Right.
I talk to people who have their kids in those programs at those other hospitals.
Yeah.
I like to hear how are they being treated? What are they learning? What are they doing?
Yeah.
How are our protocols different or the same? And if at any given time I feel like Kenan needs to be at one of those others, I have no problem uprooting her. I'm not moving back to Connecticut.
Right.
But I did live there one time. But I have, maybe Florida. But I have no problem taking her to any of those other places to get a second opinion.
Absolutely.
And then to make that even our home base, because it's a couple times a year. But we're fortunate that it can be handled here. But I went so far as to say, I'm willing to go to these other states if it's necessary.
I think, we did the same thing with neurology, and Cincinnati Children's is like the top, which we got lucky. It's in the same state as ours, and we've actually had second opinions. When Kai was diagnosed with his epilepsy, we chose to stay with Nationwide because they did pretty much at that time choose the same path of treatment for him once we got the second opinion. And I know so many that go to Cleveland Clinic because it's like we are just really blessed in Ohio because these three hospitals are like the top for pediatric neurology. So we've gotten very lucky. Yeah. But I even met a couple on the plane when I was coming back from Dallas, Texas years ago, visiting some of our cousins. And this family, they had like these special shirts on and they were coming into Columbus so that their kid could have some specific surgery that was something with urology related. I don't know all the details, but that's what they did. They looked online and they said they found this one doctor and he was like the guy, and they were flying from Dallas to Columbus to stay at Ronald McDonald and for their son to get this surgery done. And like, that's what people do.
Yeah.
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 And it's just, I think we just wanted to talk about this so that you guys knew that was okay, because I would say that 5.5 years ago, that would not have even crossed my mind.
Right. You think that you are just, that's what you do.
Yeah. And what I heard from the doctors was like, that's what was happening. And that was what Kai's prognosis was. And that was it.
Yep.
And I was really wrong. And that's okay because there's a lot of stuff going on at that point. Yeah. But I think that it's important to know that is totally your right and you are okay to do that. And you're also not alone in it. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I hope that this was really helpful for everybody because this is, like Amber said, something that we've walked through and we're unaware of and scared of and have come out the other side much bolder and more confident, and it's fun to advocate for your kids.
It is. Yeah. You know, you can get a little sassy sometimes, and some of them actually like that. Yeah, some of the doctors and nurses are here for it.
Have you ever had any, like, bad experiences in these conversations at all, or...
I've not had a bad one, but
interesting.
I did that one neurosurgeon that we fired essentially. Ironically, I have run into him at the hospital on more than one occasion since we left and started seeing his partner in practice. And I'm like, I never saw this man before. until
Yeah.
I fired him. And it would be so funny because you talk about them not knowing. He knew exactly who I was, and he's like, "Hi, Miss Pearson." And I was like, "Oh!" I saw him one time getting coffee down in the like cafeteria.
They're always there. The ones you fired, they're always getting coffee when you're getting coffee.
So I had that.
So it's like the super weird, like shared blind experience.
Right.
Like, oh, I can't go anywhere. I need the caffeine.
I need caffeine. Hey, buddy,
Yeah.
how's it going? But then, ironically, I had a family friend's daughter that had a very big scare with some sort of virus and ended up in the hospital. I hate using this word, but like very typical functioning. And then because she had a really, really high fever, she ended up having a febrile seizure. So that brought in neurology and they did an MRI. Well, they found that she has enlarged ventricles, which they use it. The term is ventricular megaly, big ventricles. It was like an incidental finding. They've been doing all this other testing. She's fine. Like, I don't think she's not been diagnosed with hydrocephalus or anything like that. And she's now in preschool and not sick anymore. But they were assigned this neurosurgeon while inpatient. And my friend called me and she's like, "Well, my friend Amber, who has a son, Kai, with hydrocephalus."
Oh, no.
And she's like, this doctor's face is like, crap. I know that person.
She doesn't like me.
Yes, and
Yeah.
so the funny thing is she even called me while he was in the room.
Oh,
I
no.
put me on speaker just because she wanted me to hear like the conversation, because she just was like, "I need you to hear." So because she's overwhelmed, right? She's advocating for her kid. And I'm just sitting here like, well, first things first, call a new neurosurgeon. But
Did he hear you say that?
no,
Oh,
the
okay.
funny thing is I told her that like
Okay,
after the
okay.
conversation. I'm like, of course, of all of the doctors, like I have crossed paths with this guy probably 4 to 5 times.
Oh my God.
I'm like, of course we have. But it's funny because we kind of joke about it now, and I just like see him and I just make it a big point to be like, "Hey, buddy, how's it going?" But yeah, but here we are, and it's all good. And I think he could probably care less because
Yeah.
he just continues on his way, and it wasn't a good fit, and that's just totally okay.
And that's what like, it's just not, sometimes it's just not a good fit.
Right, yeah.
And you
that's
think about like anything else you do, and people
Yeah.
get fired all the time or switch things all the time, but there's something about medical
Yeah.
that it's like, oh, it's a holy grail you can't touch.
Yeah.
Not
Not
true.
true. No.
Not true.
Straight up lies. So
Yeah.
we'll leave you with that.
Yeah, I think on that note, in that story.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, guys, it's been awesome catching up with you,
Yeah.
and share any of your experiences in the comments. We'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely. Share with us about your doctor shopping, and we'll see you back for the next episode of Lemon Cake.
Bye.
Nailed it.
I'm leaving that in.